The fake heiress returned to the countryside to raise chickens. After the real heiress came back, I moved back to the village. My former fiancé, far away, messaged me. "London is covered in white snow. I miss you. What are you doing?" I didn't hesitate to reply, "Feeding chickens." He didn't seem disappointed by my simple answer. Instead, he continued the conversation with enthusiasm. "It's wintertime here now. Could you bring some chickens to visit me before Christmas?" I looked up at the free-roaming chickens in the yard, then glanced at my grandmother diligently cleaning up the scattered chicken droppings. My heart sank, and I sadly replied, "No, I can't. Grandma would kill me. Please don't message me anymore. Your fiancé has changed." Daniel Qin remained silent, typing for a long time, and only a few minutes later sent a voice message. The signal in the countryside wasn't good. His voice was full of static and annoying crackling sounds. "Changed? What do you mean?" Before I could even begin to explain, he quickly asked, "Is there thunder and lightning there? I remember you're very afraid of thunder." I softly replied, "No thunder or lightning, just a tractor passing by." I spoke slowly, word by word, trying to articulate as clearly as possible. "Actually, I am not the biological daughter of the Bui family. I am currently living in the countryside, feeding chickens every day. Our two families arranged the engagement for the real daughter of the Bui family, so now everything must change." The other end of the line was silent for a long time. Before he could say anything, I decisively hung up and blocked his number. This marriage was originally just an exchange of benefits between two powerful families. Now, with my identity no longer matching, continuing this relationship was impossible. Better to endure the pain once than prolong the torment. I buried my face, trying to hold back the tears welling up. But then I suddenly remembered I still had to go to the chicken coop to collect eggs. Crying could wait. When I left the Bui family, I decided not to take anything with me. My foster parents had advised me many times to keep my clothes and jewelry, but I refused. Evelyn Bui, their biological daughter, stood right beside me. She grew up in the countryside, vibrant, open-minded, and not at all shy. With wide, clear eyes, her bright voice rang out, "Being mistaken for me was just an accident. It's not your fault, older sister. You can still stay." I gently replied, "But I've lived your good life for so many years. At least let me return and experience the life you once had." The repetition of the word life almost made me bite my tongue. She scratched her head, hesitating. "All right then." Before leaving, I only added Evelyn Bui on WeChat. She promised to send me a PDF guide on caring for sows after farrowing and said that if I had any questions about raising pigs or feeding chickens, I could ask her anytime. I gathered all my impulsive courage, along with Evelyn Bui's genuine concern, and boarded the car back to my hometown. And so, I began my new life, climbing mountains to cut grass for pigs and descending to feed chickens. Daniel Qin once told me, "It's already wintertime here, meaning there's an 8-hour time difference between us. We'll have an extra hour to love each other." But after just half a day in the village, I realized one thing: all that romance could wait. Now, the most important thing for me was when my hens would lay eggs. Thinking this, I turned and hurried towards the chicken coop. The hen was sitting on her eggs, and I had no idea how to get them out. After a moment's thought, I opened the WeChat app and messaged Evelyn Bui. "The hen is sitting on her eggs. How do I get them out?" She sent back an excited voice message. "Little sister, feed the chickens some corn first, then take the eggs. That's Agami D's law." I grabbed a handful of corn, scattered it on my hand for the chickens. Then I reached in, rummaged around, and found a warm chicken egg. After putting the egg down and washing my hands, I messaged back, "Thank you, Evelyn." "Why are you being so polite with me?" The voice message stopped halfway as I heard my foster mother's voice from behind. "Evelyn Bui, can you speak a little more properly?" I chuckled softly, but then felt a bit uneasy. I'd have to tap a digital wooden fish later to accumulate some good karma and make up for it. That evening, the whole family gathered around the wooden table for a simple meal. I felt a bit shy, only daring to pick up the vegetable dishes closest to me. Grandma tugged at her apron, speaking in slightly unrefined Mandarin. "What's wrong, Jian Chi? Is the food not to your liking? Tomorrow I'll butcher a chicken, okay?" I quickly shook my head. No, it's fine." Grandma nodded, her expression a little awkward. "Good then, if you need anything, just say so." I agreed. "This place is quite nice. It's just a little unfamiliar at first." That night, Evelyn Bui video called me. She lay prone on her bed, propping up her chin, and asked, "Are you used to it yet, older sister?" I replied. I'll get used to it gradually, she sighed. How come I haven't learned to reply as skillfully as you? I laughed. You're so smart, you'll definitely learn quickly. You speak so sweetly, let's go cut grass for the pigs together sometime. I nodded. Yes, that sounds good. While chatting about current life, Evelyn Bui suddenly changed the subject. Why did you block my brother-in-law? Brother-in-law? I hesitated. Who? Daniel Qin, of course. Now, I didn't know how to respond with high emotional intelligence. Evelyn Bui had just returned to the Bui family and didn't seem to know everything. I said, why bring him up? She said. He asked me to pass a message to you, but I'm not good at English pronunciation, so let me record a video for you to watch. It was a quote from The Lord of the Rings. I would rather share one lifetime with you than face all the ages of this world alone. She then asked, Little sister, do you have anything to say? I thought for a moment, not knowing where to begin explaining. Tomorrow morning, when you eat sweet potato porridge, remember to add a packet of pickled vegetables. Evelyn Bui's eyes crinkled in a smile. You sure know how to eat? Early the next morning, the crowing of roosters echoed throughout the village. I woke to the sound of the chickens, ate a bowl of hot sweet potato porridge with the promised pickled vegetables. Then I put on my basket, took my sickle, and followed the path Evelyn had shown me up the mountain to cut grass for the pigs. The mountain was densely forested, with wild grass growing everywhere. All morning, I didn't see a single soul, only the rustling of the wind through the leaves. After diligently cutting grass for half an hour, I started to feel scared. Since childhood, my foster mother had warned me never to go alone into places like this. If anything happened, no one would know. The more I thought, the more panicked I became. Carrying the basket full of grass, I dashed straight down the mountain. Because I ran too fast, I stumbled and fell, a painful blow. When I got home, I looked miserable, my hair disheveled, covered in leaves and dirt. I suddenly thought of the hardships Evelyn had endured and felt even more remorseful. When my phone got reception, I messaged her. I'm sorry, little sister, what's wrong? I choked up. I never imagined you had such a difficult life before. Evelyn replied, I don't find it hard at all. Where did you just come from? I answered, cutting grass for pigs. She messaged back, so you're a born grass-cutting saint. Hand over the sickle. I burst out laughing, my mood instantly lightened. I thought I would miss Daniel Qin terribly, but once busy with feeding chickens, there was no room left for longing. I was truly fragile. After learning I wasn't the biological daughter of the Bui family, I almost fell apart. But the farm work helped to mend me somewhat. As long as I was busy, I could temporarily forget everything. For over a month, I frequently exchanged work experiences with Evelyn. Meanwhile, Daniel Qin tried every possible way to send messages to me. I was conflicted, feeling both sorry for myself and stubbornly refusing to soften. In mid-December, Daniel Qin would typically have his Christmas break. In previous years, at this time, I would fly to London to celebrate with him. But now, I feared he might see my chickens and try to roast them like turkeys. Just kidding, of course. The disparity in our living conditions had made it impossible for us to be together anymore. The first snow of the season began to fall in the village. I filmed a video and sent it to Evelyn. She excitedly said she would come back to the village to see the snow. She also missed the family who had once raised her. During our conversation, she accidentally blurted out, Daniel Qin is back in the country. I froze. Really? She continued. He's coming to find you too. If he really came, then I'd just cook an extra portion of sweet potato porridge. That evening, I dreamed of Daniel Qin. He wore a camel-colored overcoat, walking beneath shimmering angel lights. White snow fell softly like flying petals. In his eyes, the entire street glowed with warm yellow lights. Wait until I graduate, then let's get married. I remembered I had once replied, okay. But in my dream, I honestly scratched my hand. Never mind. My mother said our sow is about to give birth, I have to rush back. Then I was awakened by the crowing of the rooster. I sprang up, put on my vibrant red peony print padded jacket, then grabbed the bag of feed and headed towards the chicken coop. After feeding the chickens for a while, I returned to drink a bowl of hot porridge. Life flowed on quietly and peacefully, without pomp or show, just simple and rustic days. Just before noon, Evelyn Bui finally drove home. The car stopped neatly in the small courtyard covered with pebbles. Evelyn Bui quickly opened the door, carrying a pretty dress in her hand, and nimbly jumped out of the car. Her appearance then was just like a young bird returning to its familiar nest after a tiring day of flying. As soon as she stepped inside, her bright voice called out loudly, Grandma, my foster mother, with a slow and gentle demeanor, came out to greet her. When her eyes met mine, her brow furrowed slightly, and a difficult-to-describe heartache was hidden deep within her gaze. "Jian Chi, you've lost a lot of weight," she said with deep concern. She came closer, wrapping her arms around mine affectionately, just like she always used to. "If you've tasted enough bitterness, then come home, my child. Evelyn won't mind having another younger sister at all." I knew Evelyn was a kind-hearted girl, generous, and certainly wouldn't be bothered by having another family member. But if I decided to return, would that be fair to her? After a moment of silence, I gently shook my head, refusing my foster mother's loving offer. "No, Mother. Her current life is what she has experienced for over 20 years. I also understand that Evelyn still needs more time to truly integrate and bond with this family. As for me, I have long become closer to my foster mother than anyone else. Our personalities also share many similarities. The Bui family was wealthy enough to provide both daughters with a full, prosperous life, lacking nothing. Yet I couldn't feel at peace thinking about sharing what rightfully belonged to Evelyn. After all, I had lived her life for over 20 years. My foster mother sighed softly, saying nothing more, only silently gazing towards the distant mountains, lost in thought. At lunchtime, Grandma decided to butcher a young hen to nourish the whole family. The 2 best chicken legs were reserved for Evelyn and me, 1 for each. Before, I rarely ate meat with bones, thinking that gnawing on bones wasn't very elegant. Evelyn, however, didn't care about such things in the slightest. She simply bent her head and gnawed heartily, without any reservations. My foster mother frowned, seemingly displeased with Evelyn's eating manners, and shot her a glance. Yet in front of everyone, she only pursed her lips, ultimately remaining silent, not saying anything. After eating, Evelyn voluntarily cleared the dishes and took them to the kitchen to wash. My foster mother leaned close to my ear and whispered, "No matter what, Evelyn still can't compare to you. I personally raised you, you understand things much better." Hearing this, I hesitated for a moment but still decided to speak up. "Aunt Yun, if Evelyn hears these words, she'll be very sad. She didn't need to learn these things before. She'll do well later," she sighed. All right. I quietly gathered the remaining plates on the table and walked towards the small kitchen. Evelyn was holding a loofah sponge, skillfully and quickly scrubbing the dishes. I put the plates down, approached her, and said, "Let me do it." She replied confidently, "I wash them cleaner than you do." It was true. However, I remained stubborn. "How can I let you wash the dishes?" The 2 of us playfully tugged for a while, and finally, Evelyn gave me a small space. "All right, let's wash them together." "Watch me, I guarantee they'll be squeaky clean." In the afternoon, Evelyn Bui put on the worn woolen gloves she often used and invited me out to the courtyard to build a snowman. As she scooped up handfuls of pure white, chilly snow, she chatted idly. "Older sister, why don't you just get together with Daniel Qin already?" The wind blew a little cold. I used my scarf to cover half my face, my voice muffled and unclear. "Because the Qin family values matching social status." She said frankly, "But it's enough if you 2 like each other, isn't it? I don't want to keep dragging things out with him, only to be stopped and separated by the elders in the end. Besides, Daniel Qin should have been childhood sweethearts with you, Evelyn." I didn't know how to make her understand. I just lowered my head and softly said, "Wait until his family cuts off his allowance, he'll obediently come back." Just mentioning Daniel Qin made my heart heavy. It felt like an invisible net was stretched across my chest, preventing me from shedding my sadness. Evelyn noticed my discomfort and quickly said, all right, I don't understand. Let's change the subject. Let's talk about my sow that's about to give birth." Her sow was about to give birth, and she began counting on her fingers, meticulously instructing me on how to care for it postpartum. As she spoke, her eyes intently met mine. "Jian Chi, you don't need to feel guilty because I used to have a hard life. Actually, I lived very freely. I was the only child at home. The adults rarely made me do anything. Everything I did was because I actively wanted to help. I studied veterinary medicine in college so that later I could come back to the village and help with the sows." She paused for a moment, took my hand, and sincerely said, "Don't torment yourself anymore." I nodded, my nose tingling. "Thank you, Evelyn." Just as we finished building the snowman, Daniel Qin arrived. There was no room for a second car in the courtyard, so he had to park at the edge of the village and walk in, treading on the uneven, thin layer of snow. Evelyn Bui immediately sprang up, turned, and ran quickly into the house, muttering, "You 2 talk, I'm outta here." We haven't seen each other in 3 months. His eyelashes were covered with tiny snowflakes. His pale face was reddened by the wind. Jian Chi, I don't know how to climb boats or steer ships, but if you were on some distant shore, I would brave the storms to find that precious gem, you. He had told me this declaration of love many times before, but now my mood was completely different. Boats and rafts? Next time you come back to the country, just take an economy flight and you'll sober up immediately. I don't understand what you're saying. Speak in plain language. Daniel Qin then lowered his voice and spoke more simply. Even if you're in the village, I'll still find you. Can we talk for a bit, Jian Chi? We walked together on the narrow village path. His warm voice echoed in my ear like a fine wine. This is the first time I've seen you in a floral padded jacket like this. You look very pretty. I sighed softly. Now I'm no longer the eldest daughter of the Bui family. Since childhood, I was taught that even in love, you must marry into equal social standing. You can't go help the poor. Well, even though I'm poor now, the logic is similar. If I try to climb high, I'll always be a step below you. While you were admiring angel lights in London, I was feeding chickens in the coop. Daniel Qin, cluck, cluck, come here and feed me. And just like that, he completely ruined the atmosphere I had tried to create. I had mentally prepared myself to cry amidst the snow. Now, all the pent-up sorrow in my heart completely vanished. He shoved both hands into his jacket pockets as if nothing had happened. All right, I'm really not funny, but Jian Chi, as long as we love each other, that's enough. My voice began to choke. You always idealize everything. He bowed his head, looking at me intently. The way you're talking still shows you love me. It felt like I was punching a pile of cotton. He continued, I only recognize you, Jian Chi, whether you're feeding chickens or shoveling manure. I asked, what if your parents don't accept you dating a fake heiress and they cut off your cards? Studying abroad would be very difficult. Daniel Qin replied, I have a full scholarship, so tuition isn't a big problem. I've already planned everything. I'll choose the safest and most economical means of transportation. I can take a bus to the northwest and then walk 100 kilometers every day. Crossing the English Channel might be a bit troublesome, but I'll buy my own glowing neck float so I can still swim at night. How long the swim takes will depend on the wind direction and strength. There's even a free seafood buffet offshore. We can have sashimi. As for accommodation, there's no need to worry. I'll become homeless, and I might even qualify for benefits. He spoke a long speech without pausing for breath. I needed a moment to process the information. As soon as he mentioned walking 100 kilometers every day, my brain completely froze. Did you take a pig's head from a museum and attach it to your neck? He burst out laughing. No, I just want to show you my sincerity. I gently exhaled and said, please give me a little more time so I can start my life anew. Daniel Qin wanted to know what I did every day. I led him to the pigsty, then put on arm sleeves and skillfully poured feed into the trough for the pigs. The sow was about to give birth and also needed deworming medicine. The pigsty certainly didn't smell pleasant, but his face didn't show any discomfort at all. Later, you can cut grass for the pigs, and I'll feed them. We can just live happily together for the rest of our lives. That's enough. I calmly looked at him and said, do you know how difficult the path up the mountain is? Daniel Qin replied confidently, I've studied mountaineering before. Another punch into cotton. He continued, what I mean is, people often say mountains and seas separate, but with love, high mountains and vast oceans can all be leveled. I rubbed my forehead, tiredly saying, stop leveling. If you have nothing to do, go help me sweep pig manure. He went to the corner, picked up a broom, and began diligently sweeping pig manure. After sweeping, he turned to look at me, seriously asking, do I need to carry the manure to the fields? I shook my head. No need, it's winter now. He put the broom back in its place and said, even though it's winter, my heart is not cold. The nearby pigs grunted, and the chickens clucked incessantly, but his voice still clearly reached my ears, like a stone thrown into a calm lake, stirring up layers of waves within my heart. I tilted my head, trying to compose myself. I've been feeding chickens for a month straight. Now my heart is harder than chicken manure left out for 2 days in the cold. He sighed softly. Some people fall in love, some watch the night sea, some cross oceans to find their fiancé and fail. I secretly thought to myself, some people wake up early to feed chickens and even get pecked by them. Daniel Qin rented a small room at the edge of the village, and today Evelyn Bui also decided to stay in the village. She claimed she had a deep affection for their sow and wouldn't be at peace unless she personally assisted in its farrowing. I'm not sure how she convinced our foster mother. Before leaving, my foster mother looked helpless, but in the end, she couldn't bring herself to scold her. As night fell, Evelyn Bui brought her pillow over to share my room. We sat together in front of the old-fashioned fireplace to warm ourselves. The flickering firelight danced, casting warm streaks of light onto her delicate eyebrows and clear eyes. "Sister Jian Chi," she began. "Actually, after you left, the Qin family brought up the engagement between you and Daniel Qin again." Hearing this, a faint sadness welled up in my heart, but I tried to maintain a calm expression. "Yes, I kind of guessed that." She continued, her tone a little mischievous. "Of course, I wouldn't steal your boyfriend, but Daniel Qin's father kept insisting on pushing his WeChat contact to me." A pang in my heart, I softly asked, "And then what?" She replied, her tone slightly gleeful. "Then Daniel Qin fiercely resisted. His credit card limits were restricted, and when he came back to the country, he only dared to fly economy class. I heard he's almost going to be homeless abroad." Seeing his sincerity, I reluctantly agreed to pass on his message to you. My mind went blank for a moment. My instinct told me to think of Daniel Qin's appearance, the young master who once spent money like water. Now, because of me, he even had to hesitate over airfare. My chest tightened, feeling heavy. "Please tell him," I said, "not to do things like that anymore." Evelyn Bui waved her hand, her expression serious. "Come on, older sister, you both have mouths. I'm not mediating anymore. Let's not talk about him anymore, Sister Jian Chi. Let's talk about something more serious." I agreed. "All right." Outside the window, the soft sound of falling snow echoed. Inside the room, it was warm, ideal for a heart-to-heart. Evelyn Bui hugged her soft pillow and lowered her voice, saying, "Actually, before coming home, I had a lot of prejudices against you." Hearing this, I quickly bowed my head to apologize. "I'm sorry." She waved her hand, smiling lightly. "Don't apologize to me anymore. Before I met you, I thought if you were like those green tea fake heiresses online who dared to target me, I would mobilize millions of netizens to make you suffer. But you didn't take anything with you, you just left quietly and even diligently returned to the village to help Grandma with farm work." She rubbed her chin, feigning a weathered, experienced look. "This woman is truly different." Then she leaned closer to me, her eyes sparkling with laughter. "You were wrongly embraced, yet we had the chance to meet. It can be considered fate." I nodded, the corners of my lips curving into a gentle smile. "Yes, it's true." An incredibly small probability had led me into the exact trajectory of life that should have been hers. She sighed, "But my birth mother still doesn't seem very satisfied with me. I've been interning for over a month and still haven't been confirmed for a position at the company." I quickly comforted her. "It's just a matter of time. Before, you could manage hundreds of chickens, so managing people definitely isn't a big problem. My hand is even swollen from being pecked by a chicken now." Evelyn Bui burst out laughing when she heard that. "Given your status, wouldn't any chicken you point at instantly be slaughtered?" I shook my head with a wry smile. "That's true in theory, but I can't exactly execute the entire chicken clan every day, can I?" She blinked, her face full of thought. "Hey, do you want to join the company and learn with me? There are many things I truly don't understand. For example, there are 12 liters present, but only 11 glasses of water. Help me, Sister Jian Chi. After all, I'm just a small, pitiful, and helpless veterinarian. As for things at home, I'll ask someone to help Grandma look after them. You can't just keep feeding pigs forever, can you?" I hesitated for a moment, then nodded in agreement. After seeing the DNA test results, I was bewildered for a very long time, tossing and turning all night, unable to sleep a wink. I didn't know how to restart my life. Originally, I had a perfect plan. At 22, I would graduate with a degree in business information management, then intern at the family company. A few years later, I would marry Daniel Qin. Everything that had been predetermined was shattered by that test result. I had no reason to stay at the company anymore, nor did I know what to do next. In my confusion, I only knew to return to the village to manage hundreds of chickens, then sit and haggle over pig prices with merchants. My grandmother would rub her hands, smiling brightly, but still with a slight, distant politeness as she praised me. "Jian Kai, studying abroad really makes a difference. You're truly capable, even selling pork for more than 10 yuan a catty." I could only smile in agreement, but my mind was adrift. What was I to do next? How could I truly let go of my pride and find a normal job to support myself? I truly didn't know. At this moment, Evelyn Bui had spoken up, saying she feels I can help her. I was like someone drowning, unexpectedly grasping a piece of driftwood. My eyes reddened and I choked out, "Thank you, Evelyn." She waved her hand, smiling brightly. "It's me who should be thanking you, Sister Jian Chi. Come on, let's sleep now." She pulled the blanket over both of us. Good night. But I couldn't fall asleep. In the middle of the night, I quietly got out of bed, put on my bulky floral padded jacket, and stepped outside. I unblocked Daniel Qin and tremblingly sent him a voice message. He picked up immediately. His voice was as gentle as usual, the final syllable softly emphasized, accompanied by a faint chuckle. "Snow is falling outside the window, and so it is in my heart. Has your fiancé come to pour cold water on me again?" The closer I got to my rural self, the more awkward I felt. I didn't know how to start the conversation, so I could only ask one question first. "Have you bought your ticket back to London?" He said, "Yes." Just two simple words. I guessed, economy class, right? He was silent for 3 seconds, then burst out laughing. "You guessed it right." Then he boasted as if it were an achievement, "I watched for ages to get that ticket. See, it was only 16 currency." I sighed. Youth is priceless, iron butt straight to London. He tried to sound lighthearted. "I probably won't be able to come back for Easter. The next time I return will likely be after graduation. By then, my wings will be strong and my father won't be able to control me anymore." His voice grew softer. "Can we not be apart anymore?" Daniel Qin had walked 99 steps towards me. I heard myself say, "Okay." Less than a few days later, the sow at home gave birth. Evelyn Bui personally assisted in the farrowing and took care of its postpartum needs. Having completed what she had set her heart on for so long, she invited me to return to the city with her. Once again, I sat in the Bui family's car. Evelyn Bui sat beside me, so excited and nervous that her hand trembled slightly as she clutched the hem of her shirt. "I'm about to unlock a new dungeon, Jian Chi." I smiled and said to her, "You got this, Evelyn." The car slowly left the village. I turned my head to look back at the place where I had stopped for a brief period of my life. After Evelyn returned, the Bui family didn't officially announce her identity to the press, but everyone implicitly understood. When the two of us walked into the company together, everyone's eyes carried a loaded meaning. I didn't pay any attention to it. The fact that she gave me an opportunity to work at the company was already more than enough. I couldn't control how others thought. My position was Evelyn Bui's private secretary. Since childhood, I had accompanied my foster father to the company. I was familiar with proper etiquette and knew quite a bit about the company's close clients. For Evelyn's first client meeting, I was the one who booked the restaurant. Every dish was carefully selected according to the client's preferences. I listed specific notes, carefully instructing her. In the hotel hallway, I unexpectedly ran into an old acquaintance, Hannah Zia. She had once actively approached me, speaking softly and sweetly, hoping her family would have an opportunity to collaborate with the Bui family. But now, she stood with her arms crossed, head held high, full of arrogant sarcasm. "Bui Jian Kai, I never would have thought you'd fall so low as to work for someone else now, would I?" I knew exactly what she was thinking. All the face she had lost because of me, she now wanted to regain bit by bit. There was no need to compete or argue with such a foolish person. I just gave her a cold glance and turned to leave. She quickly stopped me, her voice sharp and sour. "How much is your little Miss Bui paying you? I could offer a bit more, you could work for me." Then she dropped another loaded remark. "Besides, there's no deep-seated hatred between us, is there?" Did she think Evelyn and I were mortal enemies? I laughed in anger, about to give her a piece of my mind, when Evelyn unexpectedly stepped forward. She stood in front of Hannah Zia, her voice even louder than Hannah's. "What right do you have to demand my sister work for you? You should go down to the cellar and raise mushrooms, and if you don't have a cellar, well, tough luck." She had always been known for her sharp tongue. This insult took a few seconds for Hannah Zia to comprehend. Hannah froze for a moment, then her face flushed crimson. Evelyn Bui intimately hooked her arm through mine. "Don't let that woman bother you and hurt your feelings." "Let's go, Sister Jian Kai. Teach me how to politely respond to those elders. I truly can't deal with those people." I smiled. "All right." I rented an apartment near the company. Evelyn Bui repeatedly asked me to live with her, but I politely refused each time. I was afraid my foster mother would compare us again, which would upset Evelyn. Since she stood up for me, my colleagues' attitudes towards me had also improved greatly. Perhaps they had begun to realize that the real and fake heiresses didn't necessarily have to be at odds. I teased her. "What's this called? Leeching off big sister's thigh? Let me hug you." She beamed in response. Jian Chi, I'm right here. Daniel Qin had returned to England to continue his studies. He started cooking for himself, living self-sufficiently. "It's raining in London, I miss you so much. What are you doing?" This was accompanied by a picture of bland and pathetic-looking white rice with boiled meat. I messaged back, "Stop raining, my corn won't dry." Daniel Qin texted, "Are you back in the village farming again?" I just laughed in reply. "Just kidding, haha." Actually, I was helping Evelyn arrange some spreadsheets and took the opportunity to transfer him 5,000 yuan with a message. "Find something delicious to eat." My salary was paid by Evelyn, and it was quite generous. I considered myself a commercial locust, specializing in following her to various seminars to grab free tea breaks. Eating there didn't cost anything, and I saved a decent amount, which I considered aid for the homeless in London, meaning Daniel Qin. He immediately sent an intensely emotional sticker and refused the money. I like experiencing life. Even picking up discarded food is an experience. You keep the money. He could refuse on WeChat, but Alipay was a different story. So, I quietly transferred the money to him via Alipay. I accompanied Evelyn to all sorts of events. She gradually became more confident, handled herself smoothly, and chatted happily with leaders of all ranks. Whenever she mentioned me, she would always smile and say, "This is my younger sister, Jian Chi," and her attitude represented the entire Bui family stance. Thus, in the eyes of most outsiders, I naturally became the second young lady of the Bui family. In early summer, Daniel Qin graduated, and the white moonlight, referring to himself playfully, also decided to return home for a temporary rest. I asked Evelyn for an early leave from work to pick him up at the airport. She agreed immediately, then pulled out a contract from the deepest drawer. "Mom and Dad prepared this for you a long time ago. 15% of the company's shares, along with a few houses, title deeds, and keys, are all at home. I'll bring them to you tomorrow." My eyes widened and my mouth fell open in astonishment. "Just going to pick someone up and we're already discussing dowry? That's fast." She rubbed her chin, muttering to herself, "Oh, right, it is a bit early, but you should sign it anyway." I shook my head. "I don't need it, not even a portion, I won't accept it." Evelyn frowned. "But Mom and Dad have already decided." I thought for a moment and said, "Then I'll give it back to you." She burst out laughing. "You're still so kind." I glanced at my watch. "All right, I'm not talking to you anymore. I'm going to pick up my boyfriend." I took the subway first, then a public bicycle for a stretch, even stopping along the way to buy Daniel Qin a fresh orange tea from Snow Ice City Noodle. He's never had this kind before. I bought it for him to try. I only waited around outside the gate for a moment before he emerged, pulling his suitcase. Daniel Qin was a little thinner than before, still wearing the same old short-sleeved shirt from last summer. Seeing me, he smiled brightly. "You're here, Jian Chi." I nodded, handing him the refreshing iced orange tea. He inserted the straw and began to drink with relish. "Did you drive here?" I answered truthfully. "I just cycled here." He affirmed with conviction, "Even if you had to cycle for hours, you'd still come to see me. As expected, I'm in your heart." Actually, I also took the train, but there was no need to mention that. I smiled sweetly. "Yes, you're always in my heart." Since he had bulky luggage, it wasn't convenient to cycle with me. We decided to take a taxi. While entering the address, I asked, "Are you going home?" He shook his head sadly. "My father said if he sees me again, he'll break my legs." Since childhood, he had been an understanding child, always making adults feel at ease about everything. I never imagined that even past 20, he would rebel to the extent that his father, who had always been pleased with him, would utter such severe threats. I felt a little uneasy. "Then let's go to my place first." I led Daniel Qin to my small rented apartment. Midway, he received a phone call. His father's stern voice echoed from the speaker. "Do you know where you went wrong?" Daniel Qin remained stubborn. "No, father, she's not some poor, lowly girl. She promised me that once I returned from studying abroad, we would manage an enterprise together." The other end of the line trembled with anger. "Manage what? Are you going to manage my enterprise?" Daniel Qin replied, "No, I'll manage yours and she'll manage her sister's. We both have a bright future." The phone was abruptly hung up. 6 months ago, I might have been panicked, afraid I was ruining his life, but now, after 6 months of working for others, I had an open mind. Yes, I was a golden girl gone humble. So what? When it was time for dinner, I I was about to order food online when Daniel Qin quickly located the nearest market. "Let me cook for you." He went to the market, bought ingredients, put on an apron, and stood in the kitchen chopping vegetables. The warm yellow light shone on his face, creating a truly gentle scene. He was exactly the husband from another family of legends. Last year, both families had finished their discussions, waiting for him to graduate with his master's degree before holding a grand wedding. But then things happened, and everyone fell silent. No one mentioned it again. Daniel Qin had made a bet with his rich friends. He bet that he could successfully start his own business. Because of that bet, he took out a quick loan of several million yuan, then plunged into working day and night at home. As usual, I wholeheartedly supported Evelyn Bui in handling various big and small tasks so she could focus on developing her career with peace of mind. Later, she was able to shoulder everything herself and gradually became involved in more business areas. My foster father was very satisfied with her remarkable progress, happily telling everyone, "Indeed, I have raised two capable daughters." He still always regarded me as his biological daughter. Daniel Qin finally succeeded in his startup. His wings had truly become stronger than ever. His father finally relented, telling him to quickly return home to inherit the family business. And of course, the engagement from years ago also needed to be fulfilled. Evelyn Bui gave me a few days off to prepare for the important wedding. She still took out a stack of thick notebooks, excitedly saying, "Here for you, older sister." My sister's client's sister is getting married, and that sister was given a huge dowry. I can't let her outdo us. Where did this strange competitive spirit even come from? I smiled brightly, the corners of my eyes crinkling. "You're too good to me, Evelyn. Sister, I'll cling to you for life." I was too used to being the younger sister. I wanted to be my big sister's adoring puppy. Before, I was the only daughter of the Bui family. My foster parents were very strict with me, always making me control my emotions, always composed, never allowed to show anything outwardly. My personality was almost imprisoned by the phrase, "as serene as a chrysanthemum." The girls from families of equal standing weren't close friends, we only maintained superficial social relationships. Only Evelyn Bui was my true friend, someone who could truly call me sister, and be called sister in return. After learning I was about to get married, Grandma meticulously prepared many things for me. All the pigs and poultry in the house were brought by her. So Daniel Qin specially cleared a plot of land in the courtyard to build a pigsty and a chicken coop. His father, seeing this, looked displeased, feeling he was up to useless tricks again. Daniel Qin seriously told me, "These are all from Grandma's heart. I will raise them well." I whispered, "There's a chance Grandma's heart means she wants to slaughter them, you know." He hesitated slightly. "Could that be? I couldn't bear to." I nodded. "All right then." Sending the pigs and chickens on their way. It sounded a bit abstract, but it was understandable. The wedding day arrived, with both my foster parents and birth parents in attendance. A small portion of the guests were aunts and uncles from the countryside, while the majority were noble families from my foster parents' side and the Qin family. On the large screen, memorable moments of Daniel Qin and me were replayed. At 16, I went abroad for high school, becoming Daniel Qin's junior. The young man, first in love, clumsily wrote a cheesy line, "The vast, endless universe is but emptiness to me." I was bewildered, not understanding a thing. "Can you speak in plain language?" Daniel Qin gave a wry smile. "All right." At 18, I accepted his confession. When I returned home for summer break, because both families were of equal social standing and had business collaborations, the engagement naturally proceeded. At 21, I returned to the country and began a long-distance relationship with him. He photographed every first snow in London, sending seductive invitations. "Will you come before Christmas?" Until last year, I fell from a swan to an ugly duckling, becoming a fake heiress who had to return to the countryside to raise chickens. For the first time, he disobeyed his family, accepting his cards being frozen. He lived a difficult life in London, almost becoming homeless. Video ended. His voice, full of deep emotion and tenderness, echoed in English. "Jian Chi, I don't know how to climb boats or steer ships, but if you were on some distant shore, I would brave all the storms and waves to find that precious gem, you." The video was beautifully romantic and touching. Evelyn Bui was the first to clap enthusiastically. Below the stage, the antagonist, Daniel Qin's father, had a face as dark as the bottom of a pot. Daniel Qin and I looked at each other, smiling happily. From this day forward, our long, endless summer would never fade.